Hello and welcome to History 448, the history of modern Russia, here at Eastern Oregon University. My name is Philip Travis, and I am your instructor on this course. Before we start to talk about some of the ins and outs of the course, a couple little things about me. I completed my PhD from Washington State University in 2014. I specialize in international relations, the Cold War, and world history during the 20th century, and I have written a number of articles as well as an academic book. The book is titled Reagan's War on Terrorism in Nicaragua. Now, this course is about the history of modern Russia, and this is a subject that I think many in the world probably find increasingly interesting in the 21st century, given the increased discussions of Russia's involvement during the Putin era in international affairs, whether in terms of involvement in uh, uh, manipulating electronically, manipulating elections, or its involvement in the Ukraine, its annexation of the Crimea, its involvement of Syria, and so on and so forth. So in the 21st century, under the period of leadership of Vladimir Putin, Russia has become sort of an increasing area of interest, particularly in the Western world. And so I think this class probably takes on even more meaning than maybe it might have taken on even a number of years ago, given current world events involving Russia. What we're going to look at in this class is we are going to trace the history of modern Russia. We're going to start with a discussion of the Russian Empire under the Tsars, and that'll be kind of the brief introduction to this topic, to this subject. The bulk of the course will deal with the development of the Soviet Union, the emergence of communism in Russia, its rise, and then its ultimate fall. So we will be looking at the Cold War, of course, significantly from a Russian perspective. We'll also be looking at the Bolshevik Revolution, consider some of the roots. How did this happen? What were some of the motivations of the leaders? How did it change from leader to leader, particularly Lenin to Stalin and then to Khrushchev? And what kind of role or how did these changes shape the lives of everyday Russian people, as well as the reality of international affairs and politics. Our readings for this week, week one, we're going to read the introduction for service, and we're going to read our main textbook, and we're going to read chapter 1 for the main textbook. And these will kind of set up where we're going in the class. It will talk about the Russian Empire under the Tsars, some of the issues that will ultimately, eventually, during the First World War, give rise to the Bolshevik Revolution, which we will begin talking about in week 2. We also have a supplemental reading this week, and the supplemental reading is on peasant housing, like how peasants lived in the Russian countryside during the Tsarist period. And it's going to particularly look at changes in peasant dwellings and peasant houses. And this was it's not a long reading, it's a PDF, it's maybe 15 pages or something like that. But I found it fascinating when I first read it because, when you study these types of histories, oftentimes you study them and you ask the question, it's like, okay, well, this is all very interesting, but what kind of dwellings did the people live in the countryside? And so this is a pretty neat reading because it gives us an idea of what types of dwellings peasant people lived in during Tsarist Russia. And we'll also be, in a few weeks, we'll be having some interesting firsthand readings based on oral histories of the experience of being exiled from during Stalinist Russia, being sent to live in Siberia during the period of Stalin. And I think these, as well as the experience of collectivization on in the agricultural farms of Stalinist Soviet Union. So I think these are going to be some really eye-opening and fascinating readings. I hope everybody enjoys them. They're new additions to this course, and I'm really excited about them. These will be found in PDFs. They're supplemental readings, and you'll find them in various modules during the week. Now, just a couple of things. I'm already getting carried away. For the class, this is an upper division course, so we do write a research paper in this class. there is a prompt for the research paper at the end of the syllabus. So have a look at all the material in the syllabus. The research paper is 6 to 9 pages, and uh, during the fifth week, I want everyone to submit a paper proposal. And in the paper proposal, I want to see you, and we'll discuss these more as we move forward, but I want to see students write an introduction with a narrative hook paragraph and an argument paragraph, and then have a list of sources, an explanation of thesis, and the significance of the paper. So we'll take a big step towards writing that research paper in the first half of the class, and then the research paper will be due at the end of the term. Um, There's 2 exams in the class. There's a midterm exam and a final exam. The final exam is not cumulative. The exams both cover all material covered in the class up to that point, and they involve short identifications, multiple choice questions, but also at least one major essay. And those essays, I expect students to write concise and specific essays that demonstrate that they understand the material. Let's see, there's a series of quizzes for the course as well, reading quizzes throughout the course. And there's also a weekly discussion. So every week we have a discussion forum assignment, and the discussion forum, the requirements for the discussion forum is that you make 1 post and 2 replies over 2 separate days, starting no later than Thursday. So I want you to start your activity no later than Thursday during the week, and then I want to see you make at least 1 substantial post, and I want to see you reply to students in a substantial manner over the course of the week. I'm looking for 2 separate days of activity. I'm looking for a substantial activity too that demonstrates that students engage the materials that we're covering in the class. Collectively, the discussion forums are worth 10% of your grade, so it's a really easy way to help your grade out. And it's also a way, if you don't fulfill those requirements in the discussion forum, it's a way to kind of unnecessarily hurt your grade. So I'm not going to go through those discussion forums and really, go crazy on grammar or things like this. I just want to see that we're having a conversation. It's important, though, that the conversation is done in a respectful way, so always be respectful of your students, avoid dismissive language and these types of things. But generally, I'm just looking to see that we're having a conversation, a substantial conversation in the discussion forum. Let's see here. Other things. So for the class, just follow the class weekly in modules. I open every module. I open each module on Sunday, the week before that week starts. So this week you will have the Getting Started module. You'll complete that. It'll open week 1. The week 2 module will be open on the Sunday prior to week 2, and on and on. So you follow the course week by week in the modules, and things like paper prompts and examples, I put those in earlier modules so you can be thinking about that as we move towards those assignments. Every week I will have a video announcement like this. Watch these video announcements. Not only do I provide important information for the class and for the assignments for the week, but I also provide an extra credit opportunity in these weekly announcements. And I'll talk about that in just 1 second, and I'll wind this up. I also have weekly video lectures. And so I record lectures. I have a PowerPoint in the lectures, and they're designed to help students understand aspects of the class. The reading can be kind of dense at times, and so the recorded lectures are designed to help give students in an online classroom a sort of the sense of a live classroom lecture that can help them synthesize some of the materials. And so each week I will have a recorded video lecture, which is a PowerPoint that I've recorded, and they come through YouTube that you should watch, and it will really help you learn the subject. This week, the recorded lecture is on the introduction and on Leninism and how we should differentiate Leninism from things like Marxism and social democracy and utopian socialism and so forth. So these are themes that come up in the early part of the reading when we talk about the Bolshevik Revolution. And so it's really important for us to understand the differences between, say, Marxism and Leninism, or social democracy and Leninism and so forth. Oftentimes in the United States, Americans have a tendency to see communism and socialism as like one and the same, and that's not accurate. In order to understand what happens in the Soviet Union, we should understand what Leninism is and how it differentiated from things like social democracy, Marxism, and these types of things. So that's the first lecture for this week. So I have a recorded video lecture every week. There is a video announcement like this every week. Though this is the longest one, you're not going to have to experience super long video announcements. I try to make them as short as possible, but because it's the first week, I want to be sure, that we explain the material pretty clearly. By watching these video announcements, you can get extra credit. And the way the extra credit works, over the course of the term, we have 10 weeks. For each week, I will have, in these video announcements, I will have a factoid. And the factoid is just an interesting piece of information. Excuse me. Terrible. My sinuses are going crazy. But I'll have an interesting piece of information, a factoid about the subject that we're studying. And all you have to do to get your bonus point is send me an email no later than Wednesday by midnight. The idea is I want you watching these announcements early in the week. Send me the email no later than Wednesday by midnight, and I'll give you a bonus point added towards a test score at the end of the term. If you do all 10 of them, that's 10 bonus points added to a test score at the end of the term. And folks, that can be like 3 points on your final grade. It could be the difference in a B plus or an A minus. It could be a difference in a C plus or a B minus, or a D plus or a D or in a C minus. And hopefully no one's in the DC range. Hopefully we're all doing A's and B's in this class. That's what I hope. I want all of you to succeed and do the best that you can, and hopefully this class will be a really positive learning experience for everyone. So we're going to start this week, factoid right now. The first factoid for this term is this. Most people don't know. Of course, most people know that the primary religion in Russia is Orthodox, Russian Orthodox. But a lot of people don't know that, in fact, Russian Orthodoxy or Eastern Orthodoxy is actually practices. It's a form of Christianity, of course, but it actually has a number of slightly different practices. One of which is the celebration of Christmas. So Christmas, of course, the primary Christian holiday in Russia. The Russian Christmas is actually on January 7th. So Eastern Orthodox Christianity traditionally acknowledges and celebrates Christmas on January 7th rather than December 25th, as is the case in religions like Roman Catholicism and Protestant faiths in the West. So the factoid for this week is Christmas in Russia for Eastern Orthodox Russians, which is the overwhelming religion in Russia. Christmas is celebrated on January the 7th, not December the 25th. So all you need to do to get your first bonus point added to a test score is to email me that factoid no later than Wednesday by midnight this week. I will put your email in a special folder. The points get added at the end of the term. So get that first bonus point. Send me the email. Eastern Orthodoxy celebrates Christmas on January 7th in Russia. And let's have a great first week. Let me know if you have any questions. Really excited about this class and about this term here at EOU. So let's have a great week, and hopefully we'll have a great term. Let me know if you have any questions.